Let's get it.
Hey, my name is Kevin Marsico, and it's good just to be with you for a minute today. Hey, in the body, it's a very interesting thing. Our body is composed of all these different systems. I have a circulatory system where, the blood goes through my body, and a respiratory with oxygen, and I've got a skeletal system, and we've got things inside of us, like the skin that's actually the epidermis on the outside. So your body has all of these different systems inside of it. But the interesting thing, if I was going to ask you today, well, which one of your systems would you do without? Could you give up your digestive system? And how long would you make it? Or if you gave up your skeletal system, how long are you actually going to make it? Your circulatory, who here is willing, I'll give up circulatory just for a couple hours, right? But the interesting thing about our bodies is, for most of these systems in our body, to remove any one of those systems, our bodies would literally die. But there is one interesting thing, is in the body, you could give up the reproductive system and you can actually survive for one, lifetime. And I think one of the interesting things that we can learn is, when it comes over to the churches also have lots of systems in it. They have an evangelism system, an assimilation and discipleship systems. We have weekend worship systems. But one of the other systems of the church is the reproduction. And just like the body, you can if you remove any of the systems of the church, it will ultimately be dysfunctional or die. But man, you could lose the reproduction part of the system of the church, and the church could still live, but it can only live for one generation. Which begs the question, well then, how do we get churches who are not reproducing to actually see the only way to be a healthy reproducing organism is to be engaged in reproduction? Because, if you think about it from a long-term perspective, when it comes to reproduction, if we're not able to get churches to engage in it, then we have to say, well, how can we continue with a lineage and a legacy of the gospel? So here's what I want to think about. I think we need to change the conversation. Instead of the conversation being, hey, are you engaged in church planning? Or, hey, what would it take to get you engaged? I wish we could get to the point that we would say, you know what? Every healthy thing reproduces, and if you're not reproducing, there must be something wrong. Just think about it. If a husband and wife, the bride and the groom get together, it is quite natural that when spouses do what spouses do, that babies occur. Reproduction is normal. And so in normal reproduction, if a couple gets married and they don't have kids, we tend to ask a question, well, why are they not having kids? And I think it always comes down to just one or two things. If a couple's not having children, it's because one, there's a problem, or two, it's probably because they don't want to have them. And so in this mentality of, husbands and wives and having children, they either say we're having them or we're not, or there's a problem. So then you take it over to the church. See, when the groom, when you have Jesus come together with the bride, reproduction is natural. And if it's not occurring, I wonder when we're going to look out and say there must either be a problem or they don't want to. And I think we need to change that conversation to look at people and say, hey, reproduction is normal, and if you're not reproducing, there must either be a health issue or there must be just an unwillingness, or either they don't know that they're called to. So our goal today, one of the challenges we would want is how can we just change the conversation and be able to say, hey, it is normal and it's healthy to reproduce, and how can we all get on the same page going, hey, if I'm not healthy, how can we get a touch from the Master to become healed and whole and be who we're called to be? And if we don't have the heart or don't have the desire or the willingness to reproduce, we really need to repent and go back and say, hey man, how do we get back to doing what's normal? What's just the reality of nature, because that's how God intended it, instead of being disobedient to one of the most easiest things He's asked us to do, that is reproduce.
I've been really trying, baby, trying to hold back this feeling for so long. And if you feel like I feel, baby, then come on, oh, come on.